Hi, welcome to the Sales Strategies for Christian Coaches podcast. I'm Justin Janowski, your host, and I founded my company, Faith to Influence, in December of 2018, just hoping that I could make it as a Christian coach and entrepreneur. I wasn't sure. I was nervous. I had some self-doubt, but I surrendered my business to God and trusted Him. And I created over $250,000 in revenue my first year, way beyond what I could have imagined. God is so good and so faithful. And I've been helping Christian coaches ever since grow their businesses and fulfill their callings in the marketplace. Primarily what I'm known for is helping people with high integrity, high converting sales strategies. We also, through this podcast and our work, support people with their business models, their pricing, their offers, and their mindset around sales and money so that they can scale their income and scale their impact while doing it the right way. In today's episode, what I want to talk to you about is isolating the objection. This is an interesting strategy I actually learned when I was 18 selling Cutco kitchen knives, which is how can I make sure that a prospect doesn't have 5 or 6 different objections so that when we work through one, they're like, okay, well, what about this problem? And then this one, and then this one. It was a strategy I learned from one of my first ever mentors, Greg Strine. And the idea was to first validate someone's objection and concern, but then to ask enough questions to understand, is this the primary and sole objection? If we removed this objection, is everything else acceptable, exciting, appropriate for this client? So that we really know up front as we're starting to have this conversation, what we need to work through together to make it easy for the right person to say yes. What this process can look like is, somebody getting to the end of the sales conversation and me saying, hey, do you want to do this? And if they say, I'm interested, but it's a lot. It feels like it's a big investment. I'm not sure if I can afford that. What I want to do is validate that objection. I totally get it. It is a really big investment. And I might say, tell me more about that, and just get curious and have them share a little bit more. But then the isolating the objection piece of this is to say, okay, so to make sure we're on the same page, what I'm hearing from you is you're very interested in the program. You're just not sure if you can afford it. Is that right? Now, pay attention to this, because it might seem simple, but it's important, is repeating back and making sure that you're on the same page, not making assumptions, but saying, okay, what I'm hearing, I just want to make sure we're on the same page, is you'd like to do this if you could afford it. It feels like the right program for you. You just aren't sure if you can fit in your budget. Is that right? And if they're like, yeah, that's it, I'd say, okay, cool. If we could find a way to fit this program in your budget, is this something that you'd like to do? And if that's a yes, now we know we've isolated the objection. Now, what's possible is that we say, okay, cool. If we could find a way to make this cost effective for you, like if we could fit it in your budget, would you like to do this? And they say, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure if it's the right timing for me. Now we know that there's another objection, that it really might not even be about money. And if we're like, okay, talk to me about the timing. And I totally get it. Like it does require a time investment as well. Talk to me about timing for you. Explain more about that. And we're just getting curious. In general, if you've listened to me before, you know that in responding to objections, I want to be calm, confident, and curious. And so tell me more about that, the timing piece. And they're going to share a little bit of information there. Okay, cool. Like, so what do you feel like is more important to you, or more of a challenge or a roadblock to moving forward? Is it the timing piece, or is it the money piece? And if they're like, well, it's really just the timing piece. Okay, cool. So like financially, am I understanding that you could make it work if you felt like the timing was right? And you're just having an honest, transparent conversation. Okay, this doesn't have to be pushy. Your tone matters. You're just trying to understand them and get to the place of understanding that there's one primary objection, not 2 or 3 or 4. That's called isolating the objection. Now, the same thing can happen when somebody says, oh, I want to talk to my spouse. If we just accept that they want to talk to their spouse, and we assume that they themselves are wanting to move forward when they go to talk to their spouse, we might be missing a reality here, because it's possible that they haven't decided for themselves yet. And they're just saying they want to talk to their spouse because they want to think about it, and it's an easier way to say no. Or maybe they're saying they want to talk to their spouse because they have decided that they're a yes and they just want to get confirmation from their spouse. These are different kinds of scenarios. And there's so many other complexities that can be in play here. So somebody says, I want to talk to my spouse. I'm going to say, I totally get it. This is a big decision. I'd talk to my wife about something like this too. Let me ask you a question though. Have you made your decision for you yet? If she says, whatever you think, babe, I trust you, do you know what you want to do? This is critically important because I'm helping them take ownership in their part of the decision-making process. And if they say, yes, I'm in, now even them speaking that out loud is going to help them have a more empowered conversation with their spouse, which makes it more likely that they're going to enroll their spouse into their vision for this and come back with a yes. If I say, great, have you made your decision for you yet? If he says, whatever you think, babe, I trust you. Do you know what you want to do? And my prospect says, I'm not sure yet. Then I know that the spouse isn't the primary objection. They themselves haven't made a decision yet. And that's just a different conversation. By the way, when we're talking about objection handling, I want you to know I'm happy to receive yes or no from my prospects. I ultimately want them to make the best decision for themselves. But I want to get curious and ask enough of the right questions to make it as easy as possible for the right people to say yes. That's why this stuff is so important, because we don't want to lose somebody who we can help, who needs our help, who wants our help, because we haven't been thoughtful in how we're having this conversation. And so if they say, I'm not sure, I haven't made my decision yet, then I'd say, okay, well, what's holding you back? And I want to get curious again. And they might come to, it feels like a lot of money. Okay, let's talk about that. What's that mean to you? And we can start to handle the money objection or ask some questions and seek to find truth here. Like, is this something that they can afford or not? Is it responsible for them to afford it or not? Are there some payment options that we could lay out that would make this more reasonable for them or more appropriate for them? Do they just need to work through a mindset issue? And if we ask curious questions around the money piece, we might find that that's not the primary objection either. What it might come down to is fear that they're not good enough. Like maybe a few curious questions lead to, well, I've invested in programs in the past and I haven't been able to follow through and get the result that I wanted. Interesting. So is it right to say that your concern here is that you might make this investment but not have the consistency to follow through and get a result this time too? Yes, that's it. Okay, now we're finding like the root core objection. This is so much more interesting. And we might begin to start asking questions about the time that they didn't follow through in the past and who they are right now. And to say, are there some reasons to think that you're different now? You're a different person now than you were then? Yes? Tell me about that. How are you different now? And what evidence do we have to support the idea that now you would be ready to move forward with greater consistency? Like this is coaching. This is helping them work through deeper, more meaningful stuff that they're going to have to work through and get out of their way, these old mindset blocks, to have success whether they work with you or not. So we can have a meaningful conversation there. And we've now found a more true objection. Okay. Or it might be, does this program feel different than that? Or in what ways do you have a sense that this is different than that? Okay, cool. Tell me about what makes this different. Or I might even say like, okay, if you're having this conversation with me now, it sounds like you're interested. So I understand in the past you've made these investments and they haven't worked out for you, and that makes this feel scary. And yet we're having this conversation and you've shared that you're interested in the program. So I'm curious about there must be a part of you that knows you can do it, even though there's a part of you that's scared. Talk to me about the part of you that knows you can do it. And I want to hear about that part. Well, I know like God's called me to it and God can do anything. And like, if that's true, we need to help them reveal that truer, deeper part of them that has a mustard seed of faith. As God tells us, that's all we need to move mountains. So if God is calling them to this, and this is something that they must do, whether it's repair their relationship, like fulfill their dream in their career, help work through their health and fitness challenges, whatever it is that you do, if they're like, God is calling me to this, this is important, this is what I need, this is who I am, and it's a must for them, then we must help them through this coaching conversation, bring out the truth, and help them get enough leverage to take action so that they can become who God created them to become, or get what they were created to get, or do what they're meant to do. There's something here and it's important, and we don't want to miss that because we haven't asked the right questions. And so again, like sometimes the first objection isn't the real one. Sometimes it is, but we want to check in, are there other problems? Are there other concerns, other objections besides that? Is it really like they just need to make sure their spouse is on the same page with them, or do they have other concerns? If it was financially feasible, if it could fit into their budget, would they be ready to move forward, or do they have other concerns? And This isolating of the objection allows us to find the proper solution on how to move forward. If we know the programs for them and it's just a money issue, maybe this is an opportunity for us to create a unique payment option that's going to allow them to make the payments over a longer period of time. If it's an absolutely ideal client who you know really wants to be part of your program, who you really want to work with, and it's just a financial issue, might there be an opportunity for you to find a solution that would work? Maybe. Laying out that solution, though, probably doesn't make sense with a person who's not sure that this is for them. You need somebody who's all in committed, who really wants to work with you, who's ready to do their part and wants it badly enough to be a great client, who's easy to work with and fun to work with and worthwhile in that. So that's the investigation and kind of curiosity piece of responding to objections. And I feel like I could go in circles on this and give example after example after example. And there's a lot of nuance. This is not a script, it's a conversation. But I want you to know this, if you just adopt this mindset of trying to find the truth in objection handling and trying to support people in making the true best decision for themselves, and you're willing to be bold with your curiosity while remaining calm and loving, you're going to get significantly better results, and it's going to be really impactful for the other person. Let's continue to work on these kinds of skill sets together, and remember that repetition is the key to mastery. If you want to go deep on these kinds of concepts together and have these kinds of lessons and back and forth and nuance, it might make sense for us to consider working together in my one-on-one private coaching program or our sales school program. Those are the opportunities to work with me and get the most specific nuance to your needs and your sales process and the objections and things that you are receiving, where we can have this back and forth interaction. If you're interested in that, I'd love for you to send me an email and we'll line up a call. I'd learn more about your business. I'd love to share more about what we're doing and see what the right fit is for you and the right next step is. So if you've taken this lesson and it's for you and you're ready to run with it on your own, do it, implement, get better results, serve people at a higher level. If you want some help with that, email me at justin@faith2influence.com. Faith, the number 2, influence.com. I'd love to hear from you. God bless you, my friends. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.